Hey there nation, and welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander Cheapskate, and welcome to the episode of Weight of the Underhive. This series is dedicated to helping brand new players to Necromunda build their starting rosters and learn more about the game mechanics of their favorite gangs. And on today's episode, we'll discuss playing an Adeptus Astartes Imperial Fists gang in your campaigns of Necromunda. We'll discuss the gang's narrative, its playstyle, and its tabletop tactics, as well as campaign development, and provide a starting roster that you can use in your very first campaign. And because this video will be a little bit more of a deeper dive, I will put timestamps in the description box down below so that way you can click and navigate to the part of the video that you want to view. So with that being said, let's talk about this. So you want to be a space marine, eh? Well, let's go ahead and talk about why I made this video. One of my viewers, his name is Seth Spade, actually recommended it to me. He actually told me that one of his brothers actually has some space marine miniatures from the that he would like to use in Necromunda. He thought if I could come up with a really cool list in order to do that, so that way you could use those miniatures in a Necromunda campaign, and I thought that was a great idea. And the reason why is because, if I remember correctly from the lore, the Imperial Fists chapter of Space Marines actually recruits from Necromunda, so it actually makes sense that these guys would actually have a presence on that planet as well. So the idea was that we create a gang of Imperial Fist Space Marines who are training as well as recruiting from their sources right there in Necromunda, and the idea is that they want to have their recruits go through the ultimate test of survival and skill by making them hunting down Xenos down in Hive Secundus. Now the reason why we decided to do this list is because, according to Seth Spade, he was talking about some of the miniatures that we would like to see in this gang list, primarily Intercessors, Infiltrators, as well as Scouts. So I created a list based on those miniature recommendations that he had in order to create this gang, so that way he could use it in their campaigns in Necromunda. And by the way, if you play any Space Marines at all and you're interested in doing that, may I suggest you try using some of the elements from this list to kind of help create your own gang, so that way you can play in Necromunda as well. So that being said, let's go and talk about the background narrative of this gang. So once again, the background narrative of this is that these guys are from the Imperial Fists Space Marine chapter. These guys are actually initiates who are training as well as recruiting prospects as well. The idea is that none of the members of this gang has actually gone through the various changes that make them directly into Space Marines. I'm not sure exactly what the exact lore is about that. I'm not much of a 40k guy so much. I do know that Space Marines get genetically as well as surgically enhanced, and it also gives cybernetics to make them more superhuman. So let's pretend these guys haven't gone through that process yet, because they're still going through the recruitment phase, if you will. The idea is supposed to be that these guys are actually earning their skills and trying to prove what they're worth by hunting down Xenos in Hive Secundus in order to aspire to the ranks of the Imperial Fists. And that's exactly what the narrative background of this gang is. Alright, so let's talk about the playstyle of this gang real quick. It is a bit of a smaller list. There's, I think, about 7 fighters in total in this list as well, so it's going to be a little bit smaller than most gangs. And the reason why that is the case is because I'm going with more elite equipment choices for this gang to represent and kind of mimic things that a squad of Space Marine initiates would be able to pack with them into the depths of Hive Secundus. There's a lot of medium range shooting in this gang, so you'll be engaging targets within the 12 to 36 inch mark on the battlefield as well, so you'll be relying mainly on shooting. You can do some close combat, but this gang is more of a shooting list. So do keep that in mind if you decide to field this one as well. And because the gang is a smaller number of fighters, it does rely upon controlling battlefield conditions with smoke grenades. Seth Spade talked about how his brother has some infiltrators that he would like to use in this gang. And infiltrators from 40k, from what I saw on Games Workshop's website, they use smoke grenades quite a bit in order to infiltrate the battlefield. So we're going to use that exact same game mechanic in this battlefield as well. So you'll be throwing out smoke grenades to kind of screen your advance as you close your targets, and of course engage within range and start destroying them that way. And that's pretty much the idea of how this gang is going to play. So the question then became, how can we use this in order to help out our friend here? And because of that, we decided to actually use Badzone Enforcers, actually, as weird as it may sound. The reason why I decided to go with Badzone Enforcers for this list is because Badzone Enforcers do have that idea of actually having like more elite fighters with Hive Scum that they were kind of recruit to do, run around and do things. Seth Spade in his comment recommended actually doing that, to where you can imagine like some Space Marine initiates using Hive Scum to basically do like big grunt work for them. And so that's the reason why I decided to go with this Badzone Enforcers list, because you can get some of the similar equipment that Space Marines would use with them from the Badzone Enforcers. At the same time, they're also a lot cheaper in point value as opposed to Venators, for example. My next idea was actually to use Venators, but I thought that maybe could be too small of a group if I decided to do that. So I thought Badzone Enforcers would be a good kind of fit for this. They got the similar kind of weapons equipment that Space Marine squads would carry. At the same time, they're a little bit less of point value, so you can get more of these fighters in your gang as well. And at the same time, the stats are actually pretty on point for just someone who's like brand new joining up with the Space Marines. So that's the reason why I decided to go with this list. So that being said, let's talk about exactly who's inside this list for your campaign. Alright, so first of all, you're going to have your captain, who's your Badzone Enforcer captain. It's going to cost you 230 credits. My recommendation is to use an Intercessor Sergeant miniature in order to represent this fighter. We're giving this fighter armor suit, which they automatically come with, as well as purchasing layered flak armor for this character as well, so that way they have a 4-up armor save, as well as a 5-up armor save against blast template weapons as well. So that's going to really help us out in order to keep these guys a little bit more survivable. Now, the Intercessor Sergeant does come with a bolt rifle with scopes on it. We're just going to pretend that it's a sniper rifle is what we're going to do. And you equip that with an infra sight, so that way you can hit targets at 36 inches away in all visibility conditions. At the same time, your opponent will not benefit from partial cover as well, so it makes it really quite deadly. We're also giving this guy a stub gun with dum-dum rounds for backup weapons, so that way he can shoot in close combat as well as use it as a secondary weapon. This character automatically comes with manacles, and we're going to give this character the Got Your 6 skill. The idea behind this sergeant is, of course, that he's supposed to be kind of hanging back and seeing if anybody of his initiatives are being attacked, and if they get charged at, he kind of responds with a sniper rifle to either wound the enemy, so that way it's a little bit easier for his initiative to fight, or to kill it outright if he's able to. Now, for one of your sergeants, it's going to cost you 165 credits. This sergeant is going to be, I recommend using one of your infiltrator sergeants in order to represent this character. This character is going to have armor undersuit as well as a layered flak armor for that 4-up armor save and 5-up save against blast and template attacks. This guy is also going to be packing an Enforcer bolt gun. I know it's a bit of a basic weapon to use for this character, but the reason why we're using the Enforcer bolt gun is because the Badzone Enforcers do suffer from the rule called broken supply lines, but that broken supply line rule only applies, oddly enough, to the patrolman in the gang, not necessarily the captain or the sergeant. So because you don't have to worry about having the scarcity trait on your Enforcer bolt gun for this character, so we're going to have that guy carry that weapon. Besides, Enforcer bolt guns are extremely powerful. They got a 4-up armor, ammo save as well, so that's quite nice. We're giving this guy a stub gun with dum-dum rounds for backup weapon as well as for close combat attacks, as well as manacles, because they automatically come with that. And we're giving this character the fast shot ability so that way you can fire this bolt gun twice, because bolt guns are really destructive. The only downside to most bolt guns are their ammo rolls, but because Enforcer bolt guns don't have to worry about that, that's going to be really great for this gang to use. After that, you have 2 patrolmen. I suggest using a Space Marine Intercessor for your patrolman, as well as a Space Marine Scout for patrolman number 2. So let's go and talk about these guys real quick. So a Space Marine Intercessor would be patrolman number 1, so it costs 170 credits. This character's got armor undersuit as well as layered flak armor for that 4-up, 5-up armor save. At the same time, this guy's going to be packing a grenade launcher with frag as well as stub grenade as well. Now, I know the Intercessors actually have a squad fighter that does have a grenade launcher on them, on their person, so that's the miniature you would use in order to represent this fighter on the battlefield as well. Now, this guy's also got a stub gun with dum-dum rounds, so that way they have a backup shooting attack as well as close combat attack when they need to at strength 4. And we're giving this character photo goggles because he's going to have to be able to see where he's shooting at for his targets, and that's going to really help with the visibility rules of the Hive Secundus campaign system. So we're giving that guy photo goggles. He also automatically comes with manacles as well, and he also suffers from the broken supply line rules. Like I said, for those, it's kind of interesting because the Badzone patrolmen suffer from this rule, but not the sergeants or the captains. So you don't want to give concussion carbines, combat shotguns, or Enforcer bolt guns to your patrolmen because they suffer from that rule, which means that those weapons have a scarcity attached to them for their weapon trait, which means once they run out of ammo, that's it, they're gone completely. This character is also going to be your gang specialist, that way they can use the grenade launcher. After that, you have a Space Marine Scout Sergeant. You can use that miniature, and the reason why is because that miniature has a pistol as well as a chain sword, so we're going to use that for this guy. He's going to be playing patrolman number 2. He's going to cost you 135 credits. Once again, he's got armor undersuit as well as layered flak armor for that 4-up armor save as well as 5-up save against blast and template attacks. This character's going to pretend to be carrying an auto pistol with manstopper rounds, so we have a strength 4 shooting attack as well as a chain sword. So this guy's going to be about close combat up in your face. We're also packing this guy with smoke grenades so that we can throw that and actually have that blast template go off, creating a column of smoke that can protect your fighters as you advance across the battlefield. He automatically comes with manacles as well as the broken supply line rules. But because this guy doesn't have a concussion carbine or an Enforcer bolt gun or a combat shotgun, the broken supply line rules don't actually apply to him. Unfortunately, at only 1,000 points, we can't really afford many patrolmen or sergeants for this gang, so because of that, we're not going to have a lot of those elite choices. We're probably going to be focusing now on the illicit Hive scum for the rest of this gang. We were lucky to get 2 patrolmen as well as a sergeant as a captain, so that's kind of the problems that we have when you start with such low credit limits. Now, for their Space Marine Scout, you can use one of those miniatures, just a normal Space Marine Scout miniature. This is going to represent illicit Hive scum number 1. It's going to cost you 80 credits. This person's got a flak armor. Now, flak armor may not be all that impressive with a 6-up armor save, but the reason why we're getting this character is for that 5-up save against blast as well as template attacks, because you're going to be running into a lot of those on the battlefield. Now, this guy's going to operate with an auto gun, so just pretend that his bolt gun that he's carrying is actually an auto gun. He's also got an auto pistol for a backup weapon, and he's also got smoke grenades as well. So the rest of the illicit Hive scum all have smoke grenades, so that way they can throw those ahead of time to kind of screen their advance. That makes it harder for your enemies to shoot at you, and keeping them a little bit more protected as well. Now, all of your illicit Hive scum, unfortunately, do come with the expendable conscript special rule, which means they cannot take advantage of lead by example example or the group activation rules. Unfortunately, that's not going to work out to you. I did this in order to represent the fact that these guys are kind of like raw recruits still going through training, so they're still kind of going through a training period, and that's why these guys are going to Hive Secundus to figure out if they have what it takes to become a Space Marine. Your second Space Marine Scout is going to represent Enlisted High Scuv number 2. Now, I recommend using the Space Marine Scout that's got a shotgun in its hand. And we're using that for a very important reason. This guy's got 95 credits. Once again, he's also got a flak armor as well as a shotgun with solid and scatter ammo, as well as an auto pistol. Now, shotguns are actually quite good. They're strength 4, causing 2 damage with your solid slugs, so those things are great. They also cause scatter shot, which could also be good too. This character is made to lock down a flank of some sort, so that way, like, if you're worried about enemies coming at assaulting from the left or right hand side of your movements, this guy with the shotgun has close to medium range shooting, so that way they can kind of deal with those threats and hopefully stop in his tracks before it actually shows up. He's also using a smoke grenade, so that way he can throw those if he needs to. He's also got an auto pistol for a backup weapon, as well as for close combat, and we also give this guy the expendable conscript special rule. Alright, so once again, we have Space Marine Scouts going to play Enlisted Hive Scum number 3. He's also going to cost 75 credits. This guy's also got flak armor as well as an auto gun, so just pretend that one of your scouts is packing auto gun instead of it's a bolt gun. He's also got a stub gun for a back weapon. No dum-dum rounds attached to it, though. The reason why is because we just couldn't afford it. He's also got a smoke grenade as well to lob out there to screen his advance, as well as the expendable conscript rule. So once again, this guy's going to be like your medium to short range shooters. What he's going to do with that auto gun, basically hold the line and fight along the rest of his gang. The last thing we're going to do is actually spend 50 credits on a rogue doc, and the reason why we're doing that is so that way you can patch up any fighters who suffer critical injuries. This guy's got a last pistol as well as Medicaid kit and Medicaid skill, as well as the patch up special rule. Now luckily, hanger-ons don't necessarily need to have miniatures of their own because they don't really participate in battles all that often, so you could just keep this guy off to the side, so that way you could just use him to patch up your fighters if need be. And that makes up the core starting roster for this gang, and the reason why I say that is because you have to choose an allegiance, whether you want to be an Archeo-Hunter or a Malstrain Allegiance. So because I'm going to dedicate the rest of this section onto those choices and talk about what you can use for those. So if you decide to become an Archeo-Hunter Allegiance for the Hive Secundus campaign, that means you get access to an Abyssal Ferryman team. So to represent that faction, we're going to take the Tinkerer Enclave for your fighters. And the reason why is because they have that beautiful war chest rule, which means at the end of each cycle, you add d6 times 5 credits worth of weapons and war gear to the gang stash. So this is going to be all kinds of valuable for you. So at the end of each campaign week, this is going to really help you kind of make up some additional credits, up to 30 credits worth of stuff that you can add to your gang's stash. So things like pistols, for example, or in my opinion, probably the best thing to get is specialty ammo, things like man-stopper rounds, dum-dum rounds, different types of shotgun rounds, for example, or different type of rounds for your bolt guns. They're pretty cheap to get, so you might want to get those kind of weapons as well. Things like photo goggles, for example, or infrasights. These are things that you could normally just are kind of a pain to get, but you want to spend your credits on better things. But you could use these d6 times 5 credits to get whatever you need to in order to equip your fighters as well. So that's the reason why I would suggest taking the Tinker Enclave for your ferryman team. So first of all, let's talk about the skipper for your Abyssal Ferryman team. I suggest you pick a Space Marine Scout character with a heavy weapon. I see a lot of guys have Space Marine Scouts with heavy bolters, so that's the miniature I would recommend you pick. Now, this is the characteristics you'll choose for this fighter. He's going to have a 4-inch wound allowance, a 4+ weapon skill, 3+ ballistic skill, 3 strength, 4 toughness, 2 wounds, 3 initiative, 2 attacks, 7 leadership, 6 cool, 7 willpower, as well as 12 intelligence. We're equipping this guy with a heavy stubber. We're just going to pretend that heavy bolter is a heavy stubber. Your gang does need a lot of heavy shooting, and a heavy stubber is perfect in order to do just that. 2 rapid fire dice at strength 4 are going to be all kinds of awesome. We're giving this guy an axe because he has some leftover credits in order to fully flesh out his credit limit for this fighter, so that way he can have a strength 4 attack in close combat. And we're giving this guy the ballistics expert skill, so that way you have to pass leadership initiative intelligence test of 5 up, which is going to be quite easy for you to do with this character's 5+ intelligence. That'll increase your ballistic skill to 2 up, which is going to be kind of nice, so that way you get additional bonus on top of that. So not only do you get the 2 up bonus from aiming, but you also get another bonus on top of that, which means so long as you don't roll a 1, you're going to be pretty much hitting your target. And with a heavy stubber, that's going to be absolutely devastating. Your second fighter is going to be your Ferryman Rig Hand, and to do that, we're going to use one of your Space Marine Intercessor miniatures in order to do this character. Now, this guy's got a 5-inch wound allowance, 4+ weapon skill, ballistic skill, 3 strength and 4 toughness, 3 wounds, 5 initiative, 2 attacks, 8 leadership, 6 cool, 8 willpower, as well as 7 intelligence. Now, this guy's got mesh armor for a 5-up armor save, and we're also going to give this guy a combo weapon, which is a bolt gun with a grenade launcher attached to it. The reason why we're going with that weapon is because bolt guns are, of course, really great to have. Now, unfortunately, it won't be an Enforcer bolt gun. You do have to worry about the 6 of ammo save, but that's okay though, because you also have a grenade launcher attached to it that fires frag grenades. So we're definitely using that to kind of help level the playing field against your enemy. We're also spending some credits in order to purchase crack grenades for your fighter as well, so that way they can lodge crack grenades at either high toughness targets or at vehicles or at high value targets that you want taken out. And of course, this guy's got the fast shot skill, so that we can fire twice with either his bolt gun or his grenade launcher, whatever one is tactically more advantageous for you. And the last thing we have to have, of course, is your ferryman steerman. This is your guys' vehicle for your gang, what's going to be equipped with a custom rig. In my opinion, use any Space Marine vehicle in your collection in order to do this. Rhinos would be a really good choice to use, or Predators, or whatever the heck you want to use. It's completely up to you, because there's a plethora of Space Marine vehicles out there that are tracked to represent your custom rig. Now, we're giving this guy the expert driver skills, so that way you can actually use that ability whenever you're out on the open road. We're also giving this guy the custom rig vehicle, because that's what he automatically comes with. We're going to track locomotion to deal with any difficult terrain you might run into, plus most Space Marine vehicles are tracked anyways, so that kind of helps you out there. We're giving this vehicle a mining laser, so that way you have a high strength, high penetrating attack as well to attack enemy vehicles, a transport cage in order to protect your fighters while they're traveling across the battlefield, as well as a easy turnover engine, because we had 5 credits remaining, and why not have that just in case something happens to the engine of your vehicle. And these are the recommendations I would make for your Archeo-Hunter Allegiance if you decide to go with that direction in your campaign. Now, if you decide to go with the Malstrain Allegiance, the number one thing you're going to do is you're going to replace all your enlisted Hive Scum with Brood Scum instead. And the reason why is because if you do that, your Brood Scum, they cost exactly the same as Hive Scum, they have exact same everything, but they can benefit from the leading by example special rule as well as group activation if you decide to do so. So if you decide that you don't want to be be an Archeo-Hunter type Allegiance, you want to do the Malstrain instead, that'll definitely help out your gang and make your 5 Scum even deadlier, because they'll no longer be enlisted Hive Scum, they'll be Brood Scum instead. Now, if you want to talk about vehicles on this one, if you have a Primaris Invader, because I know that's like a little ATV vehicle that a lot of 40k players actually have, if you do happen to have that in your collection, I would suggest using that as a Palanite Ranger. It's going to cost you 400 credits to get that one. Your driver will have photo goggles, as well as driving an Enforcer Tauros Venator with twin-linked concussion cannons. Now, the reason why we're doing that is because those concussion cannons can reach out across the battlefield, plus with the concussion rule attached to it, can really screw up enemy vehicles by making them take handling tests. If they're not careful, of a bad roll, that vehicle can immediately go out of action as well. We're giving you a blade of armor to make your vehicle a little bit more survivable in case it takes its first non-glancing hit. Same thing with redundant drive system as well as an engine shell. So we're protecting your main components just in case you take a non-glancing hit to any of your systems. We're also giving you tire claws to give you a better handling on your vehicle, as well as an easy turnover engine, because we had 5 credits left over and might as well get that just in case anything should happen. And that was my recommendations for the Malstrain Allegiance. So now that we have your starting roster, let's talk about your tabletop tactics. So once again, you have 2 fire teams in this gang. You have a support fire team, which consists of your captain, your sergeant, as well as your patrolman number 1. These guys are your long-range shooters. These guys are the ones engaging your targets at distance with grenade launcher, sniper rifle fire, as well as bolt gun fire. At the same time, your assault fire team consists of patrolman number 2, as well as enlisted Hive Scum number 1, 2, and 3. Those guys, of course, are your close combat fighters. These guys are the ones going in with their assault, with their auto guns, as well as their shotguns. They're also going in with smoke grenades to kind of screen their advance as they close the enemy. The idea is supposed to be that your support fire team uses group activation to open fire upon your enemy from a distance, so that way they can't engage you, so that you can suppress your enemy, while your assault fire team flanks and assaults through enemy, creating a crossfire, and then of course catching enemies in a pincer attack and defeating them that way. It's pretty simple tabletop tactics, but actually it ends up working and being very effective, because that's what modern warfare tactics use today. So let's talk about campaign development real quick. So there's going to be quite a bit of development on this section, so I do apologize for that. So first of all, my suggestion to you is, as soon as you can, get a second sergeant for your gang. Now there's 2 options I would recommend getting for this character. It kind of depends on the miniatures that you have in your collection, but I would recommend getting either a concussion carbine, an assault ram with a grenade launcher, or a heavy concussion ram with fast shot for a shooter is what I recommend for that one. The reason why that's the case is because concussion carbines are great blast template weapons that could cause all kinds of problems for enemies, like a little miniature grenade launcher. Assault ram with the grenade launchers are great too, because they're great for close combat and they can still fire grenades at your opponent, which is all kinds of fun. I highly recommend that one. Or a heavy concussion ram, because once again, it does cause problems for your enemies. It does a really long range, also causes concussion for your enemy drivers, so that'd be a great weapon to use. Plus, all 3 weapons do not have the unwieldy trait attached to them, so being able to use fast shot will allow you to fire those weapons twice. Now, There's also another option you go with, which is your second sergeant, was option number 2. Instead, give this character a combat shotgun with hip shooting, so that way they can move twice and open fire with their combat shotgun. Now, they are going to suffer a -1 hit against, but if you really wanted to use a template weapon using shredder ammo, you could actually maximize enemy engagements that way, not to worry about that pesky -1 to your ballistic skill as well. An added bonus too is that your sergeant number 2 does not suffer from the broken supply lines rules, so because of that, they will not gain the scarcity trait on their combat shotgun. So like I said, depending on what miniatures you have in your collection, that's what I recommend for your second sergeant. After you do that, of course, you want to get a third patrolman for your gang, because for every sergeant you have and captain you have in your gang, you have to have a patrolman to match them. So patrolman number 3, now depending once again upon the miniatures that you have in your collection, I'd recommend exploring the no restriction rule for your patrolman. They have access to all kinds of specialty weapons in your roster, and because they have no restrictions attached to them, they can get some really powerful weapons like a web gun, for example, or a flamer would actually be the best ones in my opinion. Web gun or a flamer. If you have a fighter that's got a flamer, just say that it's a web gun if you want to, if you prefer a web gun, because after all, they kind of do the same thing, except that one sets you on fire, but they look kind of similar. Or you can use a flamer too if you want to be WYSIWYG about it, but anyways, not that big of a deal. My suggestion for this character though is avoid getting concussion carbines, enforcer bolt guns, or combat shotguns, and the reason why is because all 3 of those weapons do suffer from the broken supply line rule, and your weapons will gain the scarcity trait. So that is my recommendation for your third patrolman. You'll also need to get another enlisted Hive Scum or Brood Scum, depending on which direction you go with. And this character is going to be, once again, depending on what miniatures you do have in your collections. But if you do have a character with a shotgun, I recommend going with that, just so that way you have 2 shotguns in your gang as well as 2 autoguns. Shotguns are very powerful, and you can get some specialty ammo for that to make them quite deadly as well. Also get this guy a smoke grenade, so that way they're similar to Hive Scum number 2 in your gang, so that way you can lob smoke grenades and also use shotguns in order to deal with your enemies. Also, another thing you want to get for your gang is things that give you better visibility, so things like photo goggles, infrasights, photo lumens, or even flares. Flares are a really great cost-effective measure because they act like hand grenades, but they reveal enemies, and they're significantly cheaper than photo goggles, infrasights, or photo lumens. And of course, get better close combat weapons as well as sidearms for your fighters as well. Things like bolt pistols, for example, would be a good choice, or get things like axes or chain swords, or whatever that is in your collection that kind of matches your miniatures. And the very last thing we're going to talk about for your campaign development is specialty ammo. Things like dum-dum rounds, man-stopper rounds, electric rounds if you want to get those. If you want to get those for your fighters who are equipped with autoguns, for example. Different types of shotgun ammo, all kinds of different things as well. And if you want to, try to get an Enforcer, Sanctioner, Pattern, Automata. Would also be kind of nice too to get a Brute for your gang as well. If you have a beefy Primaris miniature of some sort, I forgot what they're called. They're like the big guys in the giant suits. If you want to get one of those, that could actually help you out to represent your Sanctioner, Pattern, Automaton. Or if you have a Dreadnought, you could actually use it to represent one of those as well, and you could use that for your collection. Just assuming that, of course, that you have a 40k version of those if you have them. So there you guys have it. This is my take on Imperial Fist Space Marines in your games of Necromunda. It's a very interesting list with some cool background lore attached to this as well. And one of the things I would definitely love to see eventually in the future is if Games Workshop would make rules for a lore-accurate Space Marine for Necromunda one day. I think about kind of a really cool like arbitrator type scenario where an actual Space Marine, maybe from the Imperial Fists, either got lost or something like that, got stranded in the Underhive, and your gang has to either hunt it down or try to survive it hunting you down. That could be really cool, challenging gameplay. We really need to see what kind of stuff you come up for that one as well. And obviously, if you don't play Imperial Fist, let's say you play Ultramarines or Dark Angels or whatever the heck you want to play, if you want to, you can modify this list to match whatever chapter that you play as well. That'd be perfectly fine. I know it's kind of getting hard out there for miniature wargamers because things are so expensive this day, so if you want to save a lot of money, you play 40k, and you want to get into Necromunda and you play Space Marines, may I suggest recycle some of your Space Marines and use them in Necromunda, and just use some of the suggestions I would use on the starting roster. So nothing wrong with that. More gameplay for your miniatures, and at the same time, you save a bunch of money too, so it's a win-win situation. So if you guys have any other suggestions, please let me know. Drop it down in the comments box down below, and if I like your suggestion, I might make a video about it, which would be kind of cool for you guys as well. So that's good enough for those of you guys. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is valuable to us as always. Also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, as well as blogger.com for all the greatest hobby news related to this channel. That's good for this one, guys. I'll catch you guys next one. Peace out, and stay classy.